halls of High Tide never failed to impress.
House Velaryon's origins reach back to old Valyria. More ancient even than House Targaryen, according to some texts. But unlike the Targaryens, we were no dragon lords. For centuries, my house had to scratch out an existence from the sea with grit and luck. When I ascended the Driftwood throne, I knew what I wanted, so I went out and seized it. Unlike every other lord of the realm, I can say that I built my house's high seat with the strength of mine own back. Our house controls the realm's navy and half its dragons. Anyone fool enough to challenge Rhaenyra's claim will be crushed.
To what end, Corlys? Wealth, power, pride?
Justice.
My house survived the doom. And 1,000 tribulations besides.
To elude a storm, you can either sail into it or around it, but you must never await its coming.
And God's be damned, I will not see it ended.
Our worth is not given, it must be made.
I am an honorable man, and I will serve you because I must. If I survive this war, I'll continue as I began. Alone. I yearn for nothing else. I am of salt and sea.
My castle is a tomb. Empty. Haunted.
I'm sad to have missed its highest days. I imagine your Hall of Nine filled with lords and kings, all eager to treat with the legendary Lord of the Tides. The wealth you brought back from Yi Ti and a shy, inspiring awe and envy. I wonder if any of them knew it was all for her.
Howdy y'all, Mud here, and today we're going to be covering one of my favorite aspects of the Song of Ice and Fire universe altogether. And that's the many interesting houses with well thought out lore and history. And it honestly would make it one of the more perfect millennial type series where everyone chooses a favorite house they want to represent, if there wasn't a house that possessed literal dragons. And yet, despite having a house of dragon, you still have so much detail put into many of the other houses across Westeros. From the ancient feud between the Brackens and the Blackwoods, to the somewhat mystical origins of House Dane. And with all these noble houses falling into regency and pretty much getting power handed to them if they're born in the right way, it makes it that much more impressive when you have a prominent black family arrive who basically carved their way up to the top and earned everything they had by hand. All without the use of dragons, earning their place as one of the most historic families within A Song of Ice and Fire's history. The family I'm talking about, of course, belonged to House Velaryon. Also, fair warning, as there's definitely going to be spoilers regarding the Velaryons and their fates throughout this video. The Velaryons are of Old Valyria, one of the more mystical places that existed within the series. Corlys even mentions that some texts claim the Velaryons are even older than the Targaryens. And while the Targaryens likely used some form of blood magic to either create and or tame dragons and ended up pretty much enslaving anybody they could, the Velaryons got their power less so through conquering and more so through exploration. The Velaryons even being one of the first houses from Old Valyria to migrate to Westeros and take up residence on Driftmark, before even the Targaryens did. And while the Targaryens are that of blood and fire, the Velaryons are that of salt and sea. Corlys Velaryon had made his very own ship, calling it the Sea Snake. Renowned for its capabilities on the water, he set off on a voyage across the 7 seas, or across the 15 seas. From journeying to the Jade Gates of Yi Ti and bringing home plentiful bounty, to adventuring to the dark lands of Ashai the Shadow, an ominous and mysterious place where he even found the famous ship belonging to lost explorer Alyssa, who sailed west of Westeros and never returned, meaning his eyes were the very first to see the ship and historically document it. But that wasn't the only thing his eyes would be the first to see, as he also became the first of Westeros to navigate the 1,000 islands in the Shivering Sea. And after using the riches he earned, he bought more ships and resources.
An elephant.
No elephants, Your Grace.
That's disappointing. I wanted those elephants.
Eventually constructing and establishing himself on High Tide, where he eventually moved the Driftwood Throne. The Driftwood Throne was a sign of the Velaryons' power, and as legends say, were provided to the Velaryons due to their connection to the sea. After his 9 voyages, he eventually established very efficient ports on Driftmark, known as both Spicetown and Hull. And due to their location and the fact they became very popular places to trade, the Velaryons' wealth and power only increased. And with his brand new castle, his newly found riches, and his established control over the shipping lanes, Corlys Velaryon became one of those powerful lords within Westerosi history. Someone who proved that hard work and ambition could actually get you some places in life. But Corlys isn't the only strong representative of the family's values, as almost all of the Velaryon bloodline that we see, at least within House of the Dragon, earn their way through hard work and honor. Like Laenor, who was a character who, while hedonistic, was still a warrior at heart, definitely representing a dragon rider's temperament and aiding in the War of the Stepstones. He, like his father, craved to be at battle and lost at sea. Still, he was kind and had a good heart, and surprisingly tolerant, considering he walks the same halls as the very same man who beat his previous flame to death, and pretty much got away from it with no consequences. Eventually, willing to give up his own dragon to escape to Essos, while also helping Rhaenyra and Daemon get together. Sure, you could assume it's the life he wanted, but you could also assume he misses his dragon Seasmoke from time to time. Seasmoke being the ultimate representative dragon of House Velaryon altogether, with his pale blue hue and flames that I wish were also a bit more blue. This dragon was like many others amongst the dance in being both small but fast. However, unlike these other dragons, some of which were purely meant for breeding at this point, like Syrax, Seasmoke happened to be a perfectly capable fighter, not only playing a big role in the War for the Stepstones, but also playing a key part in the Battle of the Gullet, as well as throwing down and even defeating some of the toughest dragons out there in the Second Battle of Tumbleton. Then we have Baela Targaryen, someone who represented the ways of the Dragon Rider with confidence and intelligence. She herself being an emotional support beam for so many characters within the dance, such as a pouting Jace, who's riddled with insecurities, but likely to have a really great time coming into Season 3, I'm sure. And then you also have Corlys, her grandfather, who she respects and shows honor to, but also understands him deeply. For example, she knew why Corlys did what he did, and when he wanted to make her heir to Driftmark, she recognized that she wasn't fitting for the role.
I would make you my heir.
I am blood and fire. Driftmark must pass to salt and sea.
Ironically enough, this will lead us to our next Velaryon, that being Alan of Hull. Alan of Hull is an honorable and hardworking man, someone who has learned to shove his feelings of neglect aside and pave his own path. Ironically enough, despite not being raised by Corlys, represents who Corlys is as a character the most out of all of his kids, or grandkids. Alan is duty-bound to do his job despite the resentment he may feel. Still, by no means does that make him a mindless drone. When Corlys dismisses Alan twice, which again, from a lord of his prominence, is something you usually listen to without doubt, Alan still speaks up against his father and defends his own independence, letting his father know where he stands in the most respectful way possible, given the circumstances. Coincidentally, claiming he himself,
I am of Salton Sea.
sort of cluing Corlys into who he should be looking towards for the next heir to Driftmark. Which, if he does end up becoming heir to Driftmark, I think one character that maybe won't be so happy is that of Rhaena Targaryen. Rhaena, like her sister Baela, grew up with a loving mother but a father who wasn't that emotionally available. And more so for Rhaena specifically because she wasn't able to hatch a dragon. Rhaena was even considered at one point to become the heir to Driftmark, but was quickly passed over. Rhaena is then given the responsibility to kind of step away from the war and keep Rhaenyra's children and dragon eggs safe. And as we've seen with Aemond, this can be a blow to any Targaryen's confidence. But poetically enough, and again spoiler alert if you want no spoilers for where the story could go, but she does eventually hatch a dragon named Morning, establishing herself as one of Westerosi history's last dragon riders until the time of Daenerys Targaryen. And if there's one thing both Baela and Rhaena had in common, it was the absolute inspiration they got from that of Rhaenys. which is fair. She was one of the more memorable Targaryens throughout the entire history of Westeros. So much so that even Corlys did most of everything he did to acquire the wealth he had to earn her heart specifically. I like to think Corlys loved her a lot and ended up sleeping with a Targaryen that maybe resembled her in some way and ended up being the Whole's mother. Sure, not the best decision, but I doubt it's because he loved their mother and more just because he missed Rhaenys so much. A love story bonding both fire and blood and salt and sea. A love story so strong that it even persisted after Rhaenys' death, with Corlys choosing to continue to show loyalty and side with Rhaenyra Targaryen, and we even see throughout House of the Dragon how Rhaenys slowly gets Corlys to change his ways, becoming a very positive influence on his character. But out of all the characters, there's no Velaryon that I'm more excited to see than that of Adam of Whole. Adam, definitely being my favorite Velaryon, is one who grew up yearning to find his place in the world. Likely after feeling pretty neglected from his father and facing the same troubles as his brother Alan, Adam was less prone to compartmentalize like Alan, his brother, and more vocal about seeking to prove his worth and establish himself, whether that be as a ship hand or even as a dragon rider. Adam never really hiding his feelings or his wants and needs, always yearning to earn one's favor, especially one like the Lord of the Sea in Corlys. Adam wanting nothing more than to just prove he's an honorable and loyal man. So loyal, in fact, that the first thing he does when basically given a nuclear bomb is pledge his loyalty to Rhaenyra. And he never even wavers, even as things intensify throughout the war. But despite all these positive traits of the Velaryons, by no means does this mean they're the perfect people. Corlys was far too ambitious to see the faults in his aspirations, and too slow to be more open-minded about the way things work around him. From not only refusing to truly accept Laenor's sexual preferences,
She's grown quite comely these last few years.
You know his true nature.
He's still young. He will outgrow it.
to overextending his hand at almost every opportunity for power.
It's long past time our houses were united in blood.
There are certain details I would wish clarified. Their children would take their father's name, that they would be born Velaryons.
Then we have Corlys' brother, Vaemond, who, while willing to fight at the Stepstones, spent most of his time complaining and even made a power play with the Greens at one point against Rhaenyra and her kids. Then you have Rhaena, who directly disobeyed Rhaenyra when she vowed to go to the Vale and protect her kids and dragon eggs, all because she wanted to find Sheepstealer. Still, despite all their faults, they represent not only a more positive side to the powerful seas of Westeros, compared to that of those like the Greyjoys, but I also really appreciate that we actually have a prominent Black House within the A Song of Ice and Fire universe. And that's no offense to Game of Thrones, as the Unsullied were genuinely badass and Grey Worm was an awesome character. And it was cool seeing Missandei go from such low status and grinding her way up alongside Daenerys. The only real problem I had with it was that they were the only real black characters that we got throughout all of Westeros. And they each happened to be previously established as slaves being saved by Daenerys. So while I'm not a super political person, I found it so rewarding to actually see a powerful and prominent black family in the Velaryons. Sort of a equal house to put up against a lot of the other houses, especially considering how powerful they became. Unfortunately, that power didn't last, and like with the rest of the Velaryon line, endings did come for almost all the characters I already talked about. So again, one final spoiler warning, but we're gonna go into how the dance actually ends for each of the Velaryons we see. Corlys Velaryon actually ends up surviving the dance after navigating some of the most complicated politics in Westeros, juggling both the societal standards, wants, and needs of the Lords of Westeros, and the unpredictable fire and rage of the Targaryen family. Even going so far as to survive the Stark's justice. Corlys got to survive the war and, while dying just a year later, established his name amongst the history as kind of a winner in the whole situation, despite the fact that he lost so much. Alan of Whole survives the dance as well, and he ends up inheriting Driftmark, which is very fitting for the character. Alan sort of being a Jon Snow story in the Velaryon family. Then you have Baela, who gets in one final dragon dance with Aegon and Sunfire, and ends up losing her Dragon Moon Dancer. Still, she survives, and I do hope we get to see more of her character throughout the show. Then we have Rhaena. Rhaena lives and essentially becomes the last dragon rider, like I said, But in regards to House of Dragon, they could be leaning towards her picking up Nettle's storyline and taming Sheepstealer. Still, in my opinion, I think it would be awesome for Nettles to show up and take Sheepstealer right in front of Rhaena. This would add more sorrow for Rhaena's character to deal with, as well as establish a really prominent and important character in Nettles, who I won't get into in this video. Then you have my guy, Adam of Hull, who literally goes out like the truest dragon rider of them all. And while he may have went about things a bit foolishly, he still did it in a very honorable way. See, when Rhaenyra begins to struggle with the betrayal of the dragon seeds, both Hugh Hammer and Ulf the White at Tumbleton, Ulf the White not being much of a surprise given his character, and Hugh Hammer, which probably has a bit of a story building up for his betrayal, both becoming traitors, leaves Rhaenyra becoming a bit more frantic. Rhaenyra losing all trust in the dragon seed, and eventually sending guard to capture Adam. But luckily Corlys steps up as a father and warns Adam in time so he's able to escape Rhaenyra's clutches. It's here I'm most eager to see how they handle this conversation between the two, as Adam flies off and ends up speaking with the Green Men in the Isle of Faces, and choosing further to establish his loyalty to Rhaenyra, flying across the Riverlands and summoning any houses still loyal to Rhaenyra to go and fight and take back Tumbleton, all in the hopes to prove that not all bastards are craven and traitors. Sadly, Adam does not survive this battle, but he does go down like a true dragon lord fighting 2 other dragons amidst blood and fire, with his brother Alan of Hull eventually marking his grave loyal, and his father Corlys more than assuredly being proud of both of his bastard sons. 2 people that, despite not being raised by him, still possessed whatever he had to become legends amongst Westerosi history, solidifying Corlys's long adventures, life, and impact on the grand world that George R.R. Martin built. And while I'm definitely open to anybody letting me know of the many Velaryon details I likely left out, this does all leave me with one question. What is your favorite house in A Song of Ice and Fire, and how would they react to possessing the power of the dragons? These sympathetic medieval nukes that could honestly change the game for any one of these houses should they ever possess one. Either way, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, enjoyed the edit at the beginning, or enjoyed the edit I'm dropping right now.
House Targaryen stood at the height of its strength. King Jaehaerys reigned over nearly 60 years of peace and prosperity. No power in the world could stand against it. With 10 adult dragons under its yoke.
Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
How does it feel to be a poor but hanging from a nail?
The only thing that could tear down the House of the Dragon was itself.
I could tell his secrets now what's when you play.
We have given the war to the dragons, and all our fine thoughts, all our endeavors are as nothing.
We teeter now at the point where none of it will matter, and the desire to kill and burn takes hold, and reason is forgotten.
There are power men should never have trifled with. One that brought Velaryon its doom. If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us.
Their armor melted. There were men walking, they were on fire.
We march now toward our annihilation. The dragons dance, and men are like dust under their feet.
There is no war so hateful to the gods as a war between kin. And no war so bloody as a war between dragons.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion.
The Velaryons. The Velaryon. The Velaryon. Velaryon. Velaryon.